a massive incident that we went to in, I think it was about 2007, 2008. And again, this is in my new book, not that I'm advertising. There's a place called Living Rooms, which is not Living Rooms anymore. It's Spoons now. Yeah, Spoons. It used to be like this big nightclub, and they changed it into a bar and a nightclub, then back to a bar. Anymore. It just went under so many different names. And me and my tutor John are on patrol in traffic car, and we're just around Keighley at the time, and it was bizarre. I've never known when you're in a fantasy land, this is what it was like. It was so bizarre. We got a call to a stabbing. It just comes out. Anyone attend Living Rooms now? There's been a stabbing going on. Someone's injured. We need assistance because the members of the public are detaining a knife man. So we're just around corner, me and John. John hammers it through gears. Driving's brilliant. Skids at top of Cavendish Street, turns right onto North Street, and that's where the Living Rooms were, there by Spoons. Skids the car to a stop. Ambulance is just pulling up. There's members of the public all over, brawling, jumping and that sort of thing. Bobby's just skidding up left, right and centre. It's just complete and utter fucking clusterfucking road. And it turns out this young lad, I think about 18, 19-year-old, complete schizophrenic, massive mental health issues. He'd gone to his house. I think he'd stabbed someone in his house, gone to someone like his brother-in-law, stabbed someone there, or a random person on the street, then gone down to Living Rooms. And he'd gone in the Living Rooms and he'd just done a massive knife attack in Living Rooms. So we get out of the car. John says, you go do what you need to do to me. And John says, I'll run the scene. So John starts putting police tape up everywhere and starts radioing to control about what's going on. Bobby's have obviously got this lad detained and they're starting to throw him in a van. I run up the curb and I turn left and I go into the Living Room's door, and I've never ever seen anything like it in my career. So just to give you an idea, through main doors, rows of seats on each side, steps up and rows of seats on each side, and then bar area at the back. There's body after body after body just laid there unconscious, covered head to toe in blood. There's blood on the floor, there's blood on the tables knocked over, chairs knocked over, there's people screaming, one person's got blood splurting out of them, there's paramedics running around trying to bandage wounds, there's not enough paramedics, there's about 7 to 10 people all stabbed and injured. I think about this time there's 2 paramedics and 2 ambulances and a fast paramedic. I just don't get it. I just can't comprehend what's going on. I run back to the car. I shout to John. I just say it's a fucking mass stabbing. Get on radio. We need more units, more ambulances. If you need to get fire brigade out, get fire. Just get everyone here you can do. I open back the car, get first aid box, run back inside, and as I run through the door, there's a girl shouting, "Help me, help me." I turn to my left and there's a girl sat there. She's about 22, 23. And she's been stabbed at the back behind her, like I say, a shoulder blade area. And they always say for every, say, 1 centimetre long, 2 centimetres depth, for every kind of thing, 2 centimetres, 4 centimetres. So, and when she bent over, this wound just sort of like went like that and made a hole. And it kind of hole, I probably could get those fingers in and go straight through her ribs into I think it were a lung. It was just this black chasm. It just looked like 30 foot deep. It was that big. Blood's coming out of it. She's struggling to breathe. She's gasping. There's blood coming out of her mouth. It's just fucking bizarre. So I undo compound bandage, like a field dressing bandage, undo this compound bandage. So I put it on the back. I hold it on. Paramedic comes over, does some vitals and says, right, pressure on the wound. At that point, I'll then take my hand off to see the compound bandage. The compound bandage has sunk into the wound. So whether it's a lung or whatever, and she's breathed in, it's pulled the bandage into the hole. So I've got to get another compound bandage and put that on top. Again, that bandage goes into the hole, and it's like it's trying to plug the hole up. So I think we use 3 compound bandages. She's in and out of consciousness at that point. I'm then covered in blood. There's a woman to my, or a man to my left. He's unconscious on the floor, not moving. He's literally just picked up, and ambulance just literally, they didn't do anything with him, just literally picked him up and threw him outside and threw me in an ambulance sets off. By this time, the street's riddled with ambulances. There's not enough paramedics to look after the people, so bobbies are now getting in the ambulances and driving the ambulances with blue lights onto hospital because there's not enough paramedics to deal with people. There's blood on the walls, there's blood on the windows. It's just a complete and utter horror scene. It's like something you see from a nightmare movie, a horror movie like Freddy Krueger. It's just bizarre. And then when I look up, I think there's 3 lads stood at bar just laughing with the pints. Just stood at bar laughing. Still got the pints, still drinking. It's completely not a shot, not bothered, don't give a flying fuck. Those men were suitably taking the beers off them and suitably ejected from the premises as quickly as they can. Because all they did was thought it was funny. They weren't helping anybody, they weren't giving first aid, they were stood there watching people die in front of them and they thought it were hilarious. So they were soon thrown out of the premises, and then victims were put in order of sickness, of how vital some people are. Some people were straight to hospital and were straight in the theatre and they had life-saving operations on them. Other people were like slashes and gashes on their arms. It might have been a stab wound to the stomach, but it could have been just dealt with in casualty kind of thing. Didn't need major surgery. But the amount of people that have the lumps of flesh that were hanging off, the amount of people that had big gaping knife wounds in them, and they were proper. Like one woman, I lifted her top up, and I think it was just under her side somewhere by a bra, and there were just like big puncture wounds, and it was just gushing through her top. It were absolutely, it were horrifying to see and do. I remember when we came out at the end of it all, CID and everyone came out, scene were locked down, and we had to have a quick walk through premises, making sure we're not. And they were like, it's really weird. There's like strips from paramedics' dressings. There's needles. There's all sorts of stuff from where each person's being trapped by paramedics. So what they'll do, paramedics will treat people and just drop all the crap on the floor because they're there to save lives. They don't think, oh, we'll pick this up. So there's pods of shit on the floor from dressings, bandage things ripped open. Same on this bit, and it's just piles of ambulance stuff where people have been trying to be saved. There's puddles of blood, thick, coagulated, is that right word? Blood all over the floor. And I remember just stood outside with John, my colleague, and I looked down and I had kin blood all down my forearms. It were all on my pants, it were on my stab vest, and it were horrible. And I remember washing my hands in the sink, and it was just fucking bizarre. It was just the blood won't come off my hands when I'm back at station, rubbing them off my hands, and it was just a bizarre thing to be a part of. The lad got sentenced, I think he got life imprisonment in a mental hospital, so he's never going to come out. I think when the people were stabbed beforehand, I think they made a full recovery. And I think all the people eventually that were stabbed in living rooms made a full recovery. But yeah, that's one of the things that I'll never forget. And every time I go past that place now, I just remember how it were inside and what we all had to go through. All the ambulance, and put it this way, the ambulance staff and paramedics out there did a fantastic job. If it weren't for their quick thinking about what they were doing and who to categorise first and throwing them in ambulance, people had died because the amount of blood loss there, that was phenomenal. But yeah, absolutely horrific job. You know, I don't think I'd ever want to see all that again.
Would you say that's one of the worst acts of violence you've seen?
Yeah, the person to do that either pure evil or, like I said, had severe mental health issues. And I think that's what I'm trying to put out about mental health, about you just don't know who it's going to affect and how it's going to affect people. But obviously he had schizophrenia, so his were obviously different. But the sheer acts of violence, to have a knife and go walk, it didn't matter if you were walking the other way with your daughter at that time, he'd have plunged a knife into your daughter, he'd have plunged a knife into you. But it was just so violent with the attacks, thrusting, stabbing, slashing, and anyone he could get his hands on before he tried to make a run for it, and then were overpowered. But I just think, you know what I mean, all you have to be is in, and no one thinks when you're going out for a pint on a night that you're going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But that's all it took. It took one person, wrong place, wrong time to commit so much devastation. It were horrible, absolutely horrible. And it were heartbreaking to see people struggling for their lives and knowing that you're there trying to do as much as you can. And my first aid is okay, but it was still limited. I'm not there to treat massive knife wounds. But yeah, I'll always remember that.
Do you think this is why talking about mental health and addressing it is so important. Could that have been prevented?
Yeah, I mean,
Would you
yeah,
help?
I totally agree. I don't know the background on his family or or what he'd spoke to or what care he were under. But yeah, if you don't do things about your own mental health, or if other people don't come forward, you don't know how someone is in the head. And it can take seconds for someone to snap about something. But all these things are built up over a period of time. You don't just get to one point and say, right, I've now got mental health issues, I'm going to stab someone. There's underlying issues all the time. And if you start to talk about those underlying issues, if you get those underlying issues seen to or dealt with, it's a lot easier in the future to be able to deal with something that comes out. And I'm not on about his schizophrenia, because that's obviously different, but where I am or whatever, that's why I encourage people to come out and do stay about the mental health, because like I said, you're relieving that pressure, and it's a pressure cooker, and it's just waiting for that wrong thing at the wrong time. Like I said, it could be a bit of road rage, it could be something, and then you're just in the wrong place, again, wrong time, and something happens and you snap, and that one thing you could do could change the rest of your life forever. So it's so important to unleash all these demons, but do it correctly and safely and in controlled environments. But that's why talking like now, me talking to camera and everyone else out there, it's so important to be able to do. And then when I'm I'm not just giving stories about my past, I'm giving stories about how it's affected my mental health, how it's affected me as a person. And then talking now, this is my therapy. Everything I do now, I'm not here because I went X, Y, and Z. I'm here because this is therapy to me. Talking about these, getting these demons out, is therapy to me. So if you are struggling and you know something, and you're just thinking, that's not right, I don't feel right, there's always ways you can go forward, there's always things you can do. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to be that person stood with a knife just saying, I don't know why I did it, I just did it. And that's when your life's over, that's when your life changes and someone else changes or someone goes. And once you've gone past that point, you can't ever get back. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to sort this out beforehand. And there's ways and means how to do that. But yeah, I think a lot of things can be prevented if mental health is seen and approached with earlier than what it is done at the moment. Did he stab someone at home? Was it at home? Or?
Yeah, apparently, I think he'd stabbed someone like 2 hours before, and then he'd gone there.
Right, yeah.
Later on.
I know there were an incident beforehand, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of bobbies were trying to deal with that incident, and then it came out that this is where it is, so to speak.
Yeah.
But we didn't listen to the first job because I'm not being funny. That one at the time we were on different channels and stuff. So yeah, I just think if you are on medication, like I'm on citalopram, and I'm on this other thing at the moment as well, so I can't remember, Zopiclone, or whatever it is, to make me sleep. If it says don't mix with alcohol, this is why you don't mix with alcohol, especially alcohol and drugs. Do you know what I mean? You've got to listen to why you're taking it, and you're taking it for a reason. If your head's not right, don't put anything else in your system that makes your head even worse. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? We've launched a Patreon channel. If you want to help out, please see the link below. Thank you.